What's up, Max?
How you doing?
Man, I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, actually.
It's that kind of day?
Oh, dude, it's a great day. Are you kidding me? We're in
Yeah.
sunny California. It could be worse. Where are you from, Montana?
I'm from Montana.
Freaking weirdo, man.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's a nice place.
When's the last time you went back there?
Oh, man, that was probably, it must have been like 2019.
Really?
Yeah, long time.
Montana, I mean, that's obviously crazy winters. Is that where a bunch of national parks are? What's in Montana?
Yeah, Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
There was all the like crazy guys that didn't want to pay taxes live there.
Oh,
Yeah,
for their farms and
decades
stuff?
ago. Oh, it was like a Unabomber. Unabomber lived up there.
Okay.
Ted Kaczynski.
So is that like the biggest celebrity to come out of Montana, Ted Kaczynski?
There's been some famous people, I
Yeah.
think. I don't know. I mean, he's probably the most famous, yeah, but, it's home to most of the MK Ultra alumni.
Fair enough. Yeah. See, I grew up in Irvine, California. We're known as being, I think, the second safest city. So I grew up pretty much a square.
Oh, wow.
Now I live in Costa Mesa. We call it the Contra Republic. There's no HOA. I'm living life wild.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, there's like people that have, boats and weird cars on the street and like covered their garages with plants, but
You're going to get one of those like sharper images, the sharper image catalog with like the 10-foot tall Bigfoot statue.
I could
that
totally
you only
do that.
order on like an airplane.
I could totally do it. Or I could leave up my Halloween decorations. I don't actually decorate for Halloween, but
Yeah.
I could year round.
Year
and just
round.
Be the spooky house.
I just like I like to be ready.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know when Halloween's coming.
You could also just decorate your house for every holiday. You do Christmas, Halloween, just keep it decorated.
Lights on all year.
Oh, absolutely. And then you can charge people to check it out and view it, I'm
That's
sure.
true.
That's
That's
a
a good
business
idea.
model.
I like that.
Screw coaching.
Yeah.
I'm just going to decorate my house weird.
There it is. That's the way to do it.
So today we're going to be diving into some of the future of coaching. We'll call it the future of coaching.
okay.
Some of the tech. Man, you have been deep in the weeds with AI, with tech. I personally, I've really just been getting into using AI with like, ChatGPT to help me with like administrative type of tasks, I'd say the last year. And if you're listening to this and you don't really care about the tech behind, the platform that is like CoachLogik or the future of, AI with coaching, this is going to be a pretty nuanced episode. So feel free to tune out and tell us to go away. But if you do care about that stuff and you're a nerd like Max, and not cool, then then you can go ahead and listen. So Max, let's get started. Ultimately, how are you seeing AI change? Like, let's just say the AI changing the larger landscape that we know in life, then also into coaching. Then,
I mean, it's such a funny thing because there's a lot of different like AI models, a lot of different kinds of applications for it. The biggest thing is like the sort of like machine learning that we would use to develop training programs can be used to give us insights that we wouldn't get otherwise. So machine learning is great at like discovering things about data and the interaction between different things in data and learning how that all fits together in a way that like theoretically could give us better answers to coaching problems, right? I don't think we're going to take AI and use it to like discover how to train better, in some like radical way.
research.
Yeah, I mean, there will be for sure, but it's like you're not going to like just throw together AI and be like, here's a program and this and that. Oh, now we know like this is perfect. But what we can do is learn a lot more about the like interactions between things within inside a training program. And what we should ultimately be able to do is get better results out of things, better programs out of things, and at the same time deliver what we're trying to do with like CoachLogik is use AI to understand the training program and deliver actual insight, not just data. So it's like if you have a training program and you put a bunch of numbers into it, you do this program over 12 weeks and you got better, okay, that's cool, but like, do you want to know why? So we can take all the data, we can aggregate it, we can do all kinds of things with this data and use a lot of machine learning techniques to learn about what's going on. But then once you have that data, we want to be able to say like, well, tell me what I should do. And that's what's valuable to a coach or an athlete is like the actual insight, not just the, hey, you did X amounts of squats and this and that and intensities and all these things.
Do you think that, and this kind of tough question, but do you think that this using AI will create worse coaches, like coaches that can't explain the why because they were given the answers on the test?
I think it's gonna be the other way around. I think that with a lot of like AI tools, you're gonna get better and better coaches. Because think about like what really holds people back is either like the ability to execute on things, and so they're just exhausted with time. They don't have the ability to do all things at once, right? So they might get kind of pigeonholed into one kind of program and that's it, or one kind of training and that's it. I think that what AI tools do is they augment your ability to do stuff. You have to be a critical thinker first. You have to have an idea of like, what are you trying to do to get good results out of anything, but especially with AI tools. If you take something like ChatGPT, for example, if you have an idea of what you want to write, you can get a lot of stuff written out faster. If you have an idea of what you want to code as a developer, you can get big chunks of that done. So the tediousness of doing those things is eliminated, which should ultimately give you more time as a coach to think about your training or do a better job with it, and then hopefully get some insights as well.
And the coach really still needs to understand the inputs to get to the outputs, right?
Exactly.
You need to know what to ask, what questions to ask, and that takes skill.
Yeah, and it's not a, I mean, at some point, like, there'll be the singularity or whatever when AI becomes sentient and kills us all.
Yeah, of course. And you'll be the king.
Yeah,
no?
Well, hopefully
you'll be cyborg. You'll be half AI, half
right. Hopefully we get like assimilated before that happens. But I think there's a definite like fear because it's such an unknown technology that is so powerful. And once it gets input into different industries, it has a tendency to eat a lot of things.
Yeah.
The initial short term of that is people, lose jobs or jobs change, right? But that happens with every kind of technology.
Internet.
Yeah, the internet, right? And ultimately, what did the internet do? It created even more more jobs, right? We get things that we all love, like a Logan Paul or something, right?
We love Logan Paul.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think he makes the world a better place.
He does.
Yeah, it's funny. Like one of the fears that I've gotten, from my coaches, and I've thought this too, is could AI replace our coaches? And what we've talked about, and you actually, I have a quote from you. We had a call the other day, and you said regarding CoachLogik, you said, "We are tech first. Any AI model we will use, the goal is to enhance coaches' ability to coach. This is the Noah's Ark of coaching. Coaches need to utilize AI to stay ahead. We want to help you."
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
100%. Like, we want to be a vehicle to integrate like AI models with coaching, right? So as these different technologies come out and become accessible, we want to be able to leverage that right away. So the way we design the coaching platform is such that we can basically use any AI model that exists. We can swap it in and out. It's not a wrapper where like ChatGPT is doing the heavy lifting and we're just putting an interface on top of that. It's the other way around. The AI actually interacts with the app. So you can use it to control elements of the app. It exists there to serve a purpose. If one model is better than another, we can switch out. So as the features and capabilities of something like, say, a ChatGPT or a Llama model or whatever it is get better and they suddenly have more value to us, we take our data set from our app and put it into this model and use this model now.
Is it kind of like a mask? You can switch the mask to the different
Yeah, I mean, you can think of it like that, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the value our platform will have from multiple perspectives. All the training data. We'll have all the data of all the programs written, how athletes succeed and don't succeed on those programs. That can become training data for a model. We have all the computer vision stuff, so all the videos that get input and all the data labeling that goes on there. That data set can be used for any different model. So when we have a new model that's better, we can put our training data set into it and end up with a way better result. So as the models get better and better, you're still using a platform that's always at the top end.
And coaches that use the platform will stay ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of platforms, so AI is a buzzword. Every company, whether it's coaching or another, outside of coaching, is just using AI as, again, a buzzword. I think a lot of coaching platforms claim AI but aren't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of apps that are AI apps, and like you can make arguments about like one thing being potentially an intelligent system or whatever, and these are sure they're artificial intelligence. There's some intelligence that's being used to generate a training program or to help with coaching. We're not really concerned. We don't even care we don't care about the term AI. Like the reality is like, are these methods and techniques and tools that are valuable in doing things? So when we build we have a program generator in the app. When we build a program, we don't want it to be deterministic, meaning if I give the same 5 inputs, I get the same 5 outputs. If I say I'm this tall, this heavy, I lift this much weight, I get the exact same program.
That would just be an if-then statement, right?
Right. It's just a million if-then statements or a bunch of tables and spreadsheets that get looked up. We want a system that's probabilistic, saying when you're a coach and you look at an athlete and they come in and they're like tipping over in the squat, there's a set of parameters or a set of characteristics that probably dictate why that's happening. And with those parameters, it would essentially be like probabilistic selection of like, well, this group of exercises is probably good enough, or it's probably the right solution to that problem. It might not always be the right thing, and it might be a different group for each person, or it might be a different group for the same person. But you don't want to say like, we don't want a system that says, if I fall forward, I do this and that fixes it. Because that we just know that's not true, right?
Got you.
Many people have the same issue and can get to the same exercise. Or you could have the same problem and have different exercises to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, again, what excites me about this, having a team of coaches, you know, coaching nearly 300 people, it's like, if I can get my coaches to be able to coach more people more efficiently. So even, let's say, increase client experience and volume, which is unheard of, because typically as you increase volume, you decrease client experience.
Right.
It allows more opportunity for coaches to be able to coach more people. It allows more results to happen for those clients that are desired. It allows, you know, us to grow the coaching business ultimately. And I think this will happen across the board for all coaches in different realms, right?
Yeah, I think one of the values that I didn't really grasp early on into the project is the ability to communicate with it. So these like large language models like ChatGPT are exceptionally good at basically like taking data and turning it into natural language, so you can understand it. So if you can take some of that heavy lifting off of a coach and say, okay, you know, we've got a bunch of different comments left by an athlete. They've left 40 comments across the week. We could potentially aggregate that and understand the sentiment of that athlete for the week. Are they positive? Are they negative? Is it neutral? You know, compare that to multiple other weeks. There's a lot of things like that you can do where long term, the goal here would basically be to say all the data that's coming in, we want our platform to be the thing that sits between the athlete and the coach that benefits both of them. So data goes in on both sides, from the athlete and the coach. The system does something with that data and spits out a positive result for both, something that's useful to both people.
Yeah, on another episode, I told you about my general manager who's finally tracking his accessories because he, you know, RPE is easy to track and he likes to see the graphs of how things are going. And so I think on the client side, you have these inputs that are now sexier to put in things because they're getting something out of it. It's not just a text.
Yeah.
On the coach's side, now you're finally getting the data, not just the text to track and know that maybe this felt like that, or you know, this, that, and the other thing, but how you can then utilize that feedback to be a better coach, to program better. And I think that's massive. Obviously, it'll increase client retention for your clients, enjoyment of the training program, and you can be a better coach, make faster adjustments.
Yeah.
Where would you say, like, what piece of the tech has helped you the most with coaching clients right now?
I mean, for sure, the LLM stuff we've integrated, it just allows you to make faster changes, so you can build, you know. Because it's a very data heavy system, you know, we want to get granular because that's the way to get good information, good data. It allows us to build, you know, a set or a workout really quickly. We've built in the development side, we've built out the ability to build an entire template from a prompt, right? So you could build a 10-week long powerlifting program in, you know, a minute and a half. Yeah. And then on the program generation side, our actual sort of proprietary AI program generation, you could build theoretically, as long as you want, you build a 6-month long program in 1 second, which is super valuable from the perspective that if you want to generate something very useful very quickly and then go in and do any fine tuning or adjustment yourself, you can. Yeah. Whereas you don't necessarily need like a huge amount of time to sit down and, okay, now I got to write this 12 weeks and then week 16, or I'm just going to do a week at a time because that's all I have time for, right? Day one, you onboard a client, you can boom, spit out a 6-week program or a 10-week or whatever it is and go from there.
Yeah, one of the things, like, I used to, when I would coach, I would write 4-week blocks, but you have some lifters who, like, you want to make more weekly adjustments, more finite adjustments. And I think that that's a good thing. All my coaches program weekly. However, the reason we do that too is when we want to make adjustments. If you write out 12 weeks, all of a sudden you wrote out 12 weeks, you make an adjustment week 3. Now you have to go into week 4 or 5 beyond all the way to 12 and then manually edit. All of a sudden, if you can cut down that amount of time by telling the LLM, you know, to change or swap this thing, that takes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Now you can focus on doing the thing that is coaching.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like down the line, as this stuff gets more advanced, as this our platform gets more fleshed out, as we start to add more features like that, you'll end up in a spot where a lot of what you're doing is taking your intelligence and giving it to the system to do what you want. Yeah. It's like, why would I need to spend time sitting there writing a program for 16 people and spend, an extra 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours building this, when I say, I know exactly what I'm looking for, let me just generate that, and then we do this again and again. You can get way more customized programming and way more personalized without having to do tons and tons of extra work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. One of our clients, he recently left, and I was talking to him, and I was he was an in-person client moving, and I was like, oh, we do online stuff. He's like, oh, ChatGPT will help me. And I was like,
yeah.
And I made like a snarky response. I was like, oh, it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But part of the reason is it's because he might not know. So an end user, a client, doesn't know what prompts to ask, doesn't know what inputs to put in to get the desired result. It still takes a trained coach's mind and eye to be able to know what to put into the machine to then get the output. So it's still important to be educated and experienced and all that stuff. It doesn't take away that portion.
Well, the other thing that something like just using a ChatGPT is bad at, one, the context length, so the amount of information it can use is not that great. So you're not going to get a great 10-week program out of it, right? If you can even get it to build that for you. Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, it's too much work. Here's 2 weeks and you can do the rest.
Here's 2 weeks, you can figure out the rest. So that's one thing, but also that's not a system. There's not a platform for you to use that. You're just generating text file, which is great. You can just download a PDF from anywhere.
And then it's a Word doc. Where do you input your results?
Right. There's no tracking.
It doesn't have your results.
Yeah, there's no tracking. There's no video upload. None of those things exist. So you have to think about like what are the core like first principles of coaching, and it's programming, it's feedback, and then it's the connection between the coach and athlete. And to get that feedback, you need inputs from the athlete, which are ratings for sets or information, feedback, video, and then the coach has to have a way to share that. That all has to exist somewhere. It doesn't happen on a Word doc or an email, right?
And the connection will never be able to be replicated unless you have your own AI bot that is you. And they're doing that now where they're moving your mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, still, I think that we talk about this a lot. Like clients, training is hard. And when it gets hard, we know this in any fitness endeavor, people fall off. The more layers of connection that you have with your client, the more you show you care, the longer they stay. So that portion, let's say the emotional connection, will always be integral. That's why you'll always have, the $20 a month subscription template somewhere. Yeah. Even if it's the best program, if they don't have those layers of accountability and connection, people fall off all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
But if you're charging a premium, clients will pay a premium for they're paying for the accountability. Especially if we go more Gen Pop away from barbell athlete, more Gen Pop. It's like it's all accountability.
It's also like a shared experience. Like when you go to a competition and you succeed, and your coach is there, or maybe you call them on the phone, like that's a real thing. And that's actually what the value of having a coach is somebody who cares about you as a person and wants to see you succeed. This is a tool. It's like any other tool. It will exist whether we build it or not. Yeah. There's going to be some massive integration of AI into every single anything that's electronic at some point, right?
And it'll lead to a lot of good and some bad.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, right? Yeah. But I think the value for us right now and the key for us is building useful tools that actually do something for everybody. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of tools that exist. There's plenty of velocity tracking apps out there. There's plenty of, messaging apps. There's plenty of these things. The goal is to have an integrated system so that all things work in the same place, and it's like vertically integrated, so you're not going different places to get it, and you have our intelligence is shared across the platform.
Yeah. Right now, when a client signs up at my gym, they have to get on one of our coaching platforms. They have to have a Zen Planner, profile. Then they have to get on Hybrid AF, our door access system. They have to sign a DocuSign over here. Like there's 5 things they have to do. My coaches, when I onboard people, will forget, the steps because there's so many. The less steps, the easier it is. The more you can focus on freaking coaching and not all these other things. One of the things I want to chat with you about is obviously, CoachLogik is still in its beta, in its infancy. Like what does the future look like for CoachLogik?
So I'll give you an example. What I think the end game will be is that the onboarding process would be a phone call, and then you would upload a video of the athlete doing whatever exercise, let's say powerlifting, a squat, bench, and deadlift video, and then some maxes, and it would spit out the programming, and then it would basically be prompting you as a coach, hey, your athlete did X, Y, and Z this week or this day. You know, demographic data tells us that athletes that fall into this category do this, this, and this better, so maybe we can make this change. Or historically, this athlete's done this, let's try to make that change. Think of it like an assistant coach, where it would be an assistant coach that's basically telling you, here's what I'm seeing in the trend of like demographics. People like this person. Here's what I'm seeing as a specific person. Here's what we can do.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, again, you have people that push back. You have your early adopters, right?
Yeah.
And I forget what's next. It was like Jim Collins. I don't know if it's Good to Great or Crossing the Chasm, but you have people that push back on some of these newer things. And unfortunately, in the game that is business or coaching business, like the longer you wait to educate yourself and utilize these tools, the more you get left behind.
Yeah.
And even if, some of this stuff sounds a little freaky in terms of what, this app or other apps in the future probably will be able to do, it's figuring out how to use the tool as a trampoline, to allow you to do what you want to do more of, which is the coaching aspect, less of the administrative type of work. And, the other thing too is like looking at the correct data, and measuring, like, again, if you're a coach, like looking at what are the key indicators of a client falling off the wagon, having a system that could even notify you if, some of these KPIs aren't being met and what's low. Like we do that manually right now.
Yeah.
One of our coaches has to collect all that data, present it. Again, if our system just pumped it out and showed it to us on a dashboard, all of a sudden now they can focus more on coaching.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to try to work on building at some point is like, let's say we have compliance metrics, right? Yeah. Like our athletes are the clients inputting data, and machine learning will give us a very good image as to like, when is this trend starting that this person's going to quit? Yeah. So you can head that off really quickly, and that might be that like, we know that if somebody stops logging sets after set 3, if they have 5, right? Maybe they leave off a rating here and there, or they do some things like, the more we can start to pick this stuff up, the sooner you as a coach can then start taking action against those things. So there's so many use cases for, this kind of like massive data aggregation, and then using machine learning to actually like do stuff with it that ultimately are just basic things like retaining clients or delivering a better experience. Yeah.
The other thing too, in like the coaching industry, a lot of other sectors, there's like, let's say, public metrics across the sector, that almost like best practices of numbers you should be hitting, or whether it's churn rate or growth rate. And right now too, like at SoCal Powerlifting, like we had to, it took me years to compile the data to then know like averages and know what numbers to even look at and like what's good and what's bad. And then now, like when I do like business coaching and stuff like that, I can tell someone who's starting up or just started maybe a year in what the metrics they should look for are. But my assumption then is CoachLogik would almost be able to tell you like, this is typically what we see. This is typically when we see an athlete fall off. Even if someone has 3 clients on the platform, they'll be like, these are the best practices. Yeah. Your client missed 6 workouts. They're 20 times more likely to fall off, stuff like that.
That's like on the business side for sure. Is like, what can we learn about the behavior of people inside the product that allows us to give coaches actionable items? Mm-hmm. If you can say, hey, like you just described, like if people are doing this kind of behavior or these kind of behaviors, and we know that those behaviors lead to a higher churn, like how can we give that coach information right away to fix it? Yeah. I also think there's a huge element of the they call it agentic, which is just basically prompts that are given to different models. So you have like 5 different, ChatGPTs, each with a different prompt, and they become agents that do stuff. But you can build out systems inside the platform at some point where you can have something that basically prompts you as a coach. Hey, don't be lazy. Give this guy feedback. If you have notifications that are older than a day or older than 2 days, maybe you get prompted by the system to harass you, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different uses that we could have for these kind of things where it's like we can really do cool stuff that wasn't really possible or it wasn't from an engineering standpoint, it wasn't worth the effort.
But you guys also care. Like, I think the key thing here is, like my coaches made a wish list and a pain point list of what they've had and did or didn't like from our current platform and what they want. And you just were like, yeah, we're building all that. Like, you care enough, and you're you're a coach, like you've been doing this for decades to know like what needs to be built. Whereas like a lot of these other, other platforms, it's like it's VCs with engineers and stuff. And so I think, that's ultimately huge. It's helping coaches grow more. So if you were to speak to, I guess, a coach listening to this that's, established, why should they switch to this platform?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is that most likely the platform system you're using now is not designed around coach feedback, right? So you have a lot of systems out there that are text-based, right? That are based around just like inputting text and then sending a text message. Essentially, it's just a glorified messaging and database system. And then you have a lot of systems that are designed around sort of scaling a business, but not around the highest quality delivery of coaching, which in our opinion is, for barbell sports, is data and the ability to deliver really high quality, detailed feedback. So our system is built around these two things. We have really good, high quality, high fidelity distribution of sets and reps and exercise, the actual program, and good data collection there that we can display to you. And then on the other side, we have an ability to integrate like markup tools and voiceover tools and the ability to like have a chat about a single set of exercises and really dig down on good feedback.
And I'd even say on like the client support side, obviously like we're in startup mode right now.
Yeah.
And it's in beta, and like the coaches who are using this platform, there's many of them. And if you want to, be a part of this and use this platform, like they can just hop on a call with you and ask you questions, talk to Max Zeta.
Yeah, for sure.
And you carve out that time. You've done it with me multiple times on how to use different tools. I think a lot of the times, I know, at least from my perspective, because again, I started as a consumer, is that fear of when transitioning, we have 270 something clients, is the fear, obviously it's work to transition over, ensuring that if we do this, like, it's going to be forever. We've been on the same platform I've been coaching on the same platform for a decade. Like, it's a tough change, but then it will increase the ability for, again, my coaches to be efficient. And that if we have questions, we can talk to a human about it, talk to the founder and, get feedback and get direction.
Yeah. And from like a business standpoint, like what I want to do, I want to be, I use the same platform as you for 10 years. Right. And the biggest frustration is like, I remember for months or years, a few years back, they talked about like, hey, big update coming, right? And it was dark mode. And you're like, that's it. Like, and the sad thing is like a lot of what these companies do is they will build up a user base, get some funding and say, hey, we're this big thing. Then they'll just start tacking on, API calls to different things. So you like Zapier integration or whatever it is. And like, they're just building the image of the product up, but fundamentally there's no development team. There's multiple platforms out there that are skeleton teams that are just doing nothing. Jeez. And you end up in a place where at the end of the day, like, it seems like a bunch of offerings, but the fundamental core thing is just hollow. Yeah. And so I want to be in a place where we're focused solely on building the product that fits the market really well, exactly what coaches want. Barbell coaches that are doing training as a profession, like we want to deliver to them the best tools we can.
Sounds like to me transitioning over is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Cool.